While fans have argued about which superheroes could defeat each other for generations, the gold standard of superhero strength in these friendly arguments is Superman. With a seemingly endless array of abilities and bottomless power reserve, it's difficult to think of a character who could reasonably give the Man of Steel a serious challenge in a fair fight. However, Thor, one of Marvel's strongest Avengers, might just be powerful enough to take on Superman. With his Asgardian abilities and mystically enhanced hammer Mjolnir, Thor is a god who fights and defeats adversaries far stronger than him on a regular basis. While Thor might be mighty and Superman might be faster than a speeding bullet, we're taking a closer look at this Justice Leaguer and Avengers hero to see which hero would ultimately come out on top. But before that, we notice a lot of you are watching our videos and we hope you enjoy them, so please subscribe to our channel and help us get to 1,000 subscribers to bring you more content like this. Superman may be considered a god among men in the DC universe, but how does his strength measure up against Marvel Comics' god of thunder Thor? It's a challenging question that fans can debate over until Ragnarok. But the comics do offer some fantastic feats of strength that offer some hints as to how these heroes' strength levels compare to each other. Keep in mind that both Thor and Superman have had varying power levels over the years, as well as multiple ways of further enhancing their strength. Thus, even though these two have met in various Marvel-DC crossovers over the years, any past meetings don't necessarily show either hero at their peak, leaving the question of which hero is stronger up for debate. Strength. By most accounts, Superman seemingly outclasses Thor in terms of raw strength, especially in earlier versions of the DC universe. He's pulled planets, punched people into orbit, and performed all sorts of wild feats of strength. In the DC universe, Superman's powers are effectively unmatched, and they increase with his proximity to Earth's sun. In terms of the power to lift and move large objects, Superman has a stronger edge against Thor. Thor may have been able to move objects that weigh as much as planets, but the Silver Age Superman not only pushed actual planets out of orbit all the time, but even went so far as to move entire galaxies on a whim. The modern age Superman shows that his power is basically limitless, as he considered bench pressing the Earth for 5 days hardly a workout. However, Thor has displayed a considerable amount of strength too. After all, Thor's raw strength was able to destroy an entire planet during his fight with Beta Ray Bill. He's punched down Galactus and the Phoenix Force, entities of universal comic strength. He held up Asgard, resisted a black hole's gravity, and leg-pressed 1 million tons. While Superman is still probably a touch stronger, the divide between post-crisis Superman and Thor is not nearly as wide as one might suspect. Powers. In regard to superpowers, Superman has a far more versatile set of abilities, with moves like freeze breath and heat vision alongside his super strength. Superman has a wider arsenal of tools to choose from. However, Thor regularly fights frost giants and has endured energy blasts from godlike celestials. While Superman's abilities might hurt Thor, they wouldn't necessarily put him down. Besides his strength and other Asgardian abilities, Thor has mastery over lightning. As the god of thunder, he can control and manipulate magical bolts of lightning and manipulate other weather conditions. While these are nothing to sneeze at for any opponent, Thor's lightning powers could prove to be especially effective against Superman. Weaknesses. Superman has an often forgotten weakness to magic, which could be the key to his defeat at the hands of Thor. That weakness is one of the main reasons that Shazam, a mystical hero who relies on magical abilities, has been able to take down Superman in the past. Thor is imbued with magical power. This power allows him to spin Mjolnir, his hammer, at speeds that have surpassed light speed. His mystical abilities allow him to maintain his strength under any circumstances. In the end, Superman's strength might not matter when he's faced with one of his weaknesses. While Superman could overpower Thor, Thor's blows would leave Kal-El seriously injured. With his super speed, Superman could probably get a few hits in on Thor before the Asgardian had a chance to summon a bolt of lightning. However, Superman rarely goes all out against opponents, especially in friendly fights. But even when fighting for sport, Thor wants to win. Combined with his mystical abilities, that mindset could give Thor the chance to unleash all his magic against Superman before he can prepare for it in most circumstances. As a side note, it's also worth pointing out that Superman has shown he can lose his strength in many different ways. Aside from exposure to kryptonite, Superman's powers fade completely under the light of a red sun and can be robbed by magic. Notably, even when Superman is at his most powerful, he can be rendered temporarily mortal thanks to red sun rays or a magic attack, although he usually gets back up to full strength very quickly. Thor, by contrast, tends to lose his power only with very specific magical spells. Odin once rendered Thor mortal by transforming him into the human Dr. Donald Blake, and arranged it so that he would lose his godly power if separated from his hammer for more than 60 seconds. While this gave Thor an Achilles heel, which he eventually lost, he's less likely to lose his power in a fight due to his lower number of vulnerabilities. So, with all that in mind, who would win this fight? Well, it's not really up for debate, since Supes and Thor have literally fought in the past. Superman soundly defeated the Asgardian when the two actually fought. Their most meaningful interaction came when the Marvel and DC universes collided in Kurt Busiek and George Perez's JLA Avengers in 2003. At the end of that crossover's first issue, Thor hurled his hammer Mjolnir into Superman's face, as the League and Avengers confronted each other. As a full-on battle between the two teams erupted in the following issue, the fight between Superman and Thor took center stage. Both heroes pushed themselves to the limit as their teams fought over a cosmic cube in the Savage Land as part of a multiversal contest. Impressively, Thor withstood the full might of Superman's heat vision as the pair traded blows at full strength. But when Thor tried to knock Superman out with his hammer, Superman turned the tables and put down the God of Thunder with one punch. Shortly before the Avengers Iron Man, Hercules, Wonder Man, Vision and She-Hulk piled on Superman for taking out their teammate. Superman ended the fight by saying that Thor was the single toughest opponent he had ever faced in battle. While Thor may be one of the mightiest gods in the Marvel Universe, he was no match for the Man of Steel when it really mattered. We don't have to go any further, since the comics officially confirm Superman is stronger than Thor. This was an interesting fight, and although it didn't have the epic proportions we all wanted it to have, it still provided enough entertainment. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to KRTV Marvel.